Welcome to Educate, Inform, and Challenge. My name is Teresa MacLennan, Executive Director of the Women and Children's Shelter of Barrie. We are so glad that you have joined us today. Of course, the purpose of our show is to talk about the lives and experiences of women. We talk about human trafficking, violence, women in leadership and politics. We also like to talk about and highlight great people in our community who are doing great things and people that we should all get to know a little bit more. And so before we start to talk to our wonderful guest, Sean Preston, we do want to acknowledge our Indigenous community and just thank you so much for allowing us to share in this space, to have these conversations where we can learn and grow together. We thank you. So I am thrilled today to welcome my guest, Sean Preston, and we're going to learn a lot more about him. So welcome, Sean. It is great to see you today.
Thanks for having me on the show. Happy to be here.
Thank you. So I know that you wear a multitude of hats in the community. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit more about all those hats that you wear?
So there'll be kind of, I guess, three main components that I'll probably be able to highlight to try to keep it as simple as possible. But the first one, first and foremost, is just simply connecting people together. That's the main idea. The world's kind of gone a little astray on us. I think we've lost our way a little bit, especially when we're talking about the word community. It used to mean a lot more than what it does today. And I think a lot of people miss that. They want that back. And so we're trying to put that goodwill out there and trying to strengthen and bolster our community. And we do that in a bunch of different ways. The first way is through an offline social media piece. We offer community magazines. I'm partnered with a work colleague of mine, Jeff Gartner, who has one out in Midhurst. We have multiple around here, but just within our partnership together. And of course, mine in the Art of Bluffs, where I grew up for 15 years. And most of the content that goes in there comes from the people who live there. So it's designed for them to share stories about whatever they want to talk about. It's not online, it's private. It goes in there. Little girls can offer their babysitting services in there. And so on and so forth. They can sell things to each other. It's not found online. It's just private. It only goes out to them. We also do a podcast called the Good Neighbor Podcast. And again, that's designed to connect people together. It's designed to connect consumers to business owners, a kind of a try before you buy. And it's also a great way for a business owner not to just only talk about their business, but talk about us and talk about them, like kind of what we're doing on the show right now. An opportunity to get to know myself a little bit more is kind of what we do on the podcast. That helps build a little bit of more trust than if you were maybe just to see an advertisement out there, or maybe see if that business could be a good fit for you. And then lastly, we do a networking event. It started with my significant other, Julie Claire from Wild Lotus Floral Design, best flower place in Barrie, in my opinion. I might be biased, but I think that's the case. And together and I, she's been, long friend of yours, and cares a lot about the community that she lives in. She's a part of my publication and lives just at the top of the Art of Bluffs. And she's been community oriented since day one, does a lot of donations, does a lot for women and leaders and everything that you guys represent, amongst a lot of other things. And so it's something we started together where we will spotlight a local business here in town, and we will bring everybody that we know and ask everybody else to bring everybody they know, and try to bolster our business community and help each other out, especially in not only tough economic times, but in thriving times, so that we could continue to maintain and build even this awesome place that we like to call Barrie, Ontario.
And absolutely, just to reiterate, Wild Lotus Floral Design, Julie Claire, wonderful, wonderful human being. And it's an honor for me to know her, and absolutely you should check them out because they are terrific. They do great work. So coming back, Sean, I mean, you talked so much already about all of the things that you're involved in. So let's start to break it down a little bit. So why should people care about what is happening in their own local community? Why should they care?
I think because that's where you live. You should care. Why did you move here? Why do you live here? Everybody's got a different reason for that. Maybe it's the waterfront. You hear a lot of people talk about that. Maybe it's the people, because we have great people here. You see that in the business community. You see that when you're out and about walking your dog or walking in your communities. And we have some great people that live here. Barrie's been this kind of little tucked away gem, this little hub, and it's developed its own culture within itself. And people from outside of the city move here. And I've even had somebody boldly once told me not too long ago that that's going to change. And I'm like, yeah, you just moved here. You have no idea what it's like here. And so we want to try to preserve that. I feel like people care about that, and it's very true that there's a buy local movement that's existed for 6, 7, 8 years now, 9 years, and that movement goes hand in hand, I believe, with everything else, on why you live here, why you would want to live here. You want to support everybody else that's here. You would want to buy local. So versus going to maybe somebody outside or a big box store, why would you not want to go support your local flower shop? Her flowers are better anyway. So
So let's talk about Ardoff Bluffs living, because I think it's a different approach to how people are being connected in with one another. Can you just explain for our viewers what that looks like and how does that work?
So I kind of mentioned it off the hop, but it's, if you could picture Facebook in your own private magazine that only goes out to you and maybe 3,000 others homes. We put a family on the front cover. And I think that's the linchpin to everything. They get a full center spread. We get to tell their story. And so everybody gets to share, for those who are okay with the spotlight, and tell their story. And we've had some great stories come out of there, from people that have been there when it was just farm fields to others who have been there for 3.5 years, some over 30. And everybody's got a unique story to tell. And I think human connection is and always will be something that people hold dearest to others and to themselves. And we try to kind of emulate that through storytelling and delivering relevant content that people want to know and want to hear because they care about where they live. You go drive through that community and just take a look at the properties there, take a look at how well people maintain their properties. You talk to people who live there and how much they wave to one another. They know their neighbors. They care about that kind of stuff. And I'm saying that because I know a lot of people who live there. I know a lot of business owners who live there. I grew up there for 15 years. Uh, People care a lot. And so we're just trying to kind of amplify that by giving them something special. And the other 40% of the content are local business owners who live here who deserve to receive their business. And so we sit down, Jeff and I, Jeff does the same thing out in Midhurst, and we find and sit down with these business owners and we talk about what their goals are and what they're looking for and how they would like to grow. And we give them something that they don't necessarily have access to, in a very special way, to make other people feel good about their business, but they're also vetted by us. So anybody who's in those magazines, they're trusted, they will continue to be, and those dollars allow them, the community, to have that awesome offline social media platform.
So what kind of feedback are you getting from the folks who are involved in it and who are receiving it?
Overwhelmingly positive would be an appropriate word for that.
Mhm.
Midhurst has been around for 5 years, so they're kind of used to it. Arda just over a year, almost a year and a half now. So it takes a little bit of while to kind of get used to, but having something like that, it's so cool. When you need a plumber and you have somebody who is a plumber in your magazine, but they're also writing articles and teaching you and educating you on stuff about their business that might be common sense to them, but for us as consumers, as homeowners, we don't really know that information. It's really good because it might be something you could do on your own. But then the next time you have a major problem, you're for sure going to call that plumber, but you also trust that he's going to do a good job for you.
Yeah. And I could see that it really starts to bring community back together if they have sort of, I mean, you hear the things about good fences make good neighbors and, comments like that. Do you find that this is a way that really brings community back together, that we start to know more about our neighbors and who's living in our community?
Oh, 100%. I mean, you recognize that family on the front cover. You might not know them. Maybe you've seen them walk their dog in front of your home. You're going to be way more inept because you know a little bit more about them to go up and say, "Hey, I seen you on the front cover." You might not remember their name, and that's okay, but that's an excuse for you to go up and say hi to them. We have a calendar of events section in there where everybody gets to participate. We put the major activities going on in Barrie, but we also encourage community members to do bottle drives for the youth and their sports teams so that they can raise money for their jerseys or for charity. We also encourage business owners to participate in there. I'm telling you right now, I'm doing a big water balloon flight in the Art of Bluffs come August. That's happening. Not a lot of people know about it, but I want to get the entire community together. We're going to blast it out on social media. It will be in the magazine, and our business owners will be participating. You get to meet them firsthand, and we're just going to be in bathing suits, bring the sunscreen, and let's just, connect together and maybe get wet.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. And so right now this is happening in Midhurst and the Ardagh area. Do you have any thoughts about how big this could possibly become?
Jeff and I have certainly some pretty large aspirations. We'd like to be the go-to people when it comes to trying to connect people together, but maybe leave the world a little bit in a better place than where we left it. If you just put enough goodwill out there, maybe you can make enough change. And so we're just doing our small part in that bigger picture.
So we're going to talk a lot more about this because I really want to tease out your thoughts about why this is important to you. So we are going to head into a very short commercial break. But before we do that, I also want to make sure that I am highlighting your business, Best Version Media, because I think too it's important for us to make sure that we are highlighting and letting our community know about that other piece of work that you do. So do you want to just say a little bit about Best Version Media?
Best Version Media is that they started back in 2007 about putting that goodwill together and connecting communities together. And none of this would be possible to be able to give us the platform that we're currently using even right now, to allow us to be somebody in our community and to put forth that goodwill if Dave Duran, the founder of Best Version Media, didn't come up with the idea, one of the founding members, and then do the grind to actually put it together when everybody else was telling them that print was dead and this and that. Now in January, GQ magazine's launching an article saying that print's a luxury experience, and it's coming back just like bell-bottom jeans, just like tie-dye did, and a bunch of other things, as we're in such a busy world. So, kudos to them. They always got their foot on the ground. They mean well. And Best Version Media stands for best version of yourself. And that's where they talk about us as the publisher and trying to do good in our communities and give back to everybody else.
Super. So stay with us. We are going to continue this great conversation with Sean Preston, and we will see you in just a minute. Welcome back to Educate, Inform, and Challenge. We're having a great conversation with my friend Sean Preston, and we're just really talking about community. What does it mean to be good neighbors, that we break down barriers and that we reconnect as communities. And so we've talked about several initiatives that Sean has, created, thought about, put in place, and having great success with that as well. And so we're going to dive a little bit more. But so, Sean, I want to pose this question to you. What does it mean to be a human connector?
It's a funny thing when you think about it at first glance, but being a human connector, having the privilege of being in many social circles to know a lot of people and have good conversations at connecting with them, knowing them and understanding who they are as people and what they do. So you're able to then come across other people and connect them with other people that would benefit them, whether that be in their personal life, in their business, if they're searching for something specific that otherwise they wouldn't maybe have had the chance to, or it would have taken them way longer to be able to find that person, if that at all.
And so is the Art Off Bluffs living one of those ways that you're trying to really connect people back into each other?
That's a loaded question. There's multiple avenues that publication does. It connects, and Midhurst as well. It connects the communities together so that the people who live there can have deeper roots, enjoy more why they live there. They already know why they moved there in the first place, but then you're getting something of more value to say, wow, I've got 50 business owners that I can rely on. Anything that I could ever need as a homeowner, I have all of this. I have all of this at my disposal. So that's one kind of component to it. But the other component is the business side of it and the communities, where it is a marketing platform where businesses can go and be in front of homeowners who have a bunch of different needs, but they do it in a way that it's just well received. And so it kind of synergizes all together. They're not in there asking for the business. They're either building value pre-purchase, they're educating, or they're lowering the barrier to entry for somebody to use their product or service. And as a consumer, and anybody listening to this show, they're probably nodding their head right now saying, yeah, if I'm going to buy, that's the way I want to do it. And that's kind of what makes it special. And so, you talk about networking events, and a lot of these other things go hand in hand. It gives us a bigger platform to be able to do more with how we want to get involved and connect the community together.
And I wanted to ask you about the Good Neighbor podcast that you've been doing. Who are the people that you've been talking to on that podcast?
So first and foremost, I have to give all of the credit to my partner, Jeff Gardner. He's been an insurmountable complementary piece to my success within my own organization, which is all the glass you see behind there. We had a successful year last year within our own organization on how fast we grew the magazine together, how much he's taught me about a lot of things on the marketing side, and then him being a perfect partner to myself in how we just work, generally speaking, right? He's very much a bookworm and learns from books. I don't. I'm very street smart. So when we kind of put us together, you're getting the best versions of ourselves, and two heads is better than one. So it was him who came up with the idea of the podcast. And the podcast is designed very similar to our magazines, where we get to take local, small and medium-sized businesses, some large, and give them a platform so that they can not only tell their story, but how they can, like their business, but how they can also tell a story about themselves. And that's another way as humans that we can connect together, because when you go out in the world, everybody the second you leave your house, you have the wall, right? And so you go out there and you put on a facade. And when you come on the podcast, we remove all of those barriers. You are almost naked from that aspect. And so it allows listeners to almost try before you buy. It allows somebody who might be another business owner to learn about them. They might turn into an alliance partner, a referral partner. And for most people, they already know this. And for those who don't, it'll be a reminder to them that small and medium-sized businesses run our economy here, not just locally, but across our country. They're very important to our ecosystem. And if we just simply held them in a higher regard, we would make our economy a better place if you thought extra. Maybe you paid a little bit more for a better quality product versus ordering it on Amazon because it's more convenient for you. And so the podcast gives us a platform, gives them a platform that allows them to tell their story in that way. And then it's just another piece of goodwill that we can offer others to build trust on our side of the fence. Marketers aren't always trusted, so we're trying to put forth that goodwill as well too, so we can get our trust.
There's also an element to the work that you're doing in many different capacities of giving back. And you've highlighted some not-for-profit agencies and really trying to generate awareness, education, and support. Did you want to speak a little bit about that as well?
Goodwill. That's what it's all about. That's how you build something like this. You have to give, and don't ask. And then people will come. And that's kind of our mantra and our philosophy. And there are charities that are out there. Yours is one of them that we're partnered with together. And so I've got this platform. Jeff has one as well too. There's only one charity we share. We each have four. And we allow our platform to give more spotlight onto charities and you guys. We believe in certain cause, and look what you're doing out here with this show, and what you do as a charity for our community and for women and children that need it out there. It's an important thing. There's a lot that, like the human trafficking side. It wasn't until I sat down with you that I kind of realized, I'm like, oh my God, this is an epidemic that we're actually having in our city where we live. And yet I go day in and day out and I don't even know anything about it. So if I can give a platform, my platform, Best Version Media's platform, our platform with the Good Neighbor podcast, why not? It's important things that need to be highlighted. And again, people care about where they live. That's why they moved here. And so if you're moving here, you should sink your roots, sink them deep. And if you're going to do that, you need to know about this stuff.
And I'll give you a little bit of feedback, Sean. In fact, I was just having a conversation with someone this morning, and they said that they had actually listened to the podcast that you and I had done together. And she said that it was inspirational. And I mean, it wasn't because there was anything really great that was said, but just like you said, like you kind of come into those conversations and you're naked. I was talking in our podcast about the time when I had been removed from my job, right? Like I was kind of positioned out from my job that I had held for 25 years. And that resonated with her because she had had an experience as well. And so I just want to let you know that it is having it, your conversations that you're having with people is having an impact, and it is generating conversation. It's generating awareness and that education piece and community, right? And so I just want you to know that there's some really great feedback that's coming. And I was pleasantly, it was such a nice thing to hear that she had said to me, I listened to your podcast and it really made an impact for me. And so I just want you to know that word is really getting out there, and it is really making a difference in the way that people are thinking about things. And I think that is truly a wonderful thing. So congratulations on just, bridging conversations and I think knocking down the barriers, right? Like you say, we're coming to these conversations raw, and they're good conversations to be had. So we only have about 5 minutes left, believe it or not. Our time goes very quickly. I want to ask this question of you, Sean. You're doing great work in the community. You have a mind for community and wellness and participation. Why? Where does that come from? Why is this important to you?
That's a good one. I grew up here. I was born in Winnipeg, but I moved here when I was 7. So I've got pretty much my entire life. I moved to Toronto for 2 years. I've traveled all over Canada. I've been in every major city in Canada in 9 months. I've had, I'm well kind of traveled in that aspect of it. And in my travels, I've always come back here. And I realized later as I was as maturing in age that it's a very special place we live in here. And you would know that unless you didn't have those experiences like I have. And so quickly understanding that And then it wasn't until I got to start with Best Version Media, like I've always worked for somebody else, and I didn't have my best bouts with working for bullies and stuff like that. Growing up, high school, elementary school, in the workforce, you name it, all the way up. We don't have enough time for that. But um, coming back to starting to kind of understand and saying like, oh, I'm a business owner. Oh, I get to do this. Oh, I get to network. I get to give back. And I get to be who I want to be. And, there's a lot of goodwill that I want to give back. This place has treated me really well. And I want to try to pave the way by putting forth that goodwill out there. People, uh, we're not speaking ill of everybody because it's not that way, but the world is just not like it used to be in the 70s and the 80s, in the 90s to a degree. And then the digital age took over and it started getting everybody super busy about all of this new tech. And then we kind of lost sight to what was important. And you see it now where they're looking back and saying, oh, I like that. I want that. Let's bring it to the forefront. And, um, we want to try to get people to trust each other a little bit more. We want people to care about where they live. We want to make it a great place to live because it is. It could be better. It can always be better. But we want to push that envelope. Jeff and I, Julie, Claire, and I, we want to push that envelope and kind of set a path for other people. And, hopefully people will remember and say, he always meant well. He was always there. He cared, especially on the business side. Like we help brand local small and medium-sized businesses in their local market. And, if you have a conversation with me, hopefully you take away something, but hopefully that trust is there to know that I'm here to help, but not just help you grow your business. We're here to help connect the community together and make Barrie one of the best places to live, especially in the Outer Bluffs and in Midhurst.
Yeah. You kind of answered this question I was going to ask you, but when people look back at Sean Preston and the things you've been involved in and the things you've done, how do you want them to remember you?
Yeah, just, he was a good guy. He helped. He helped me in whatever aspect that was, whether it was connecting with somebody else. He helped me grow my business. He helped me on the street, whatever the case is. If you need help and we have the capability of helping you, we're going to do that. We're going to try to open up laneways and pave the way, try to help with communication lines, make certain things more accessible, depending on what it is, and building more trust with our community and our local business owners, because at the end of the day, it's the money that flows through them that allows it to be distributed back, and people need to recognize it and understand that. And when they do, they start making different decisions, and that's really what is going to allow us to continue to move forward and continue to grow as a city as a whole, and protect this gem that has always existed, that you wouldn't know unless you grew up here. And so if you're listening to the show and you're new, well, now you've heard it. And so open up your eyes and look around, say hi to your neighbor, care about the people around you. It's a very important thing because we live in a very special place.
And it's a change to a mindset in terms of, how we have moved in the direction of community and how we connect with one another. So I hope that our viewers, that you've enjoyed our discussion today with Sean Preston. Thank you so much for being with us here, and we will hope to see you again next time. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Bye-bye.